Hello and welcome to another episode of Policy in Wonderland. I'm your host, Avi Amira. And in Policy in Wonderland, just like Alice, we are going to explore and see the wonderful world of insurance, insurtech, and everything that's connected to this amazing ecosystem. In Policy in Wonderland, you will meet startups from all over the world, key figures, brokers, and more. And before we jump in, remember to like, subscribe, and share this episode. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter to stay updated on all things insurtech and connect with others who share your passion for innovation in insurance. So without further ado, we travel today to New York, and I want to invite my guest to join me as we go down the rabbit hole. Please welcome, and as I call him, the Mr. Beast of Insurance, Gordon Coyle.
That's a big title to live up to, Mr. Beast of Insurance.
So
Thanks for having me, Evie.
Thank you very much, and great to see you again.
Yes.
You started with your chocolate bars, or not yet? Mr. Beast have chocolate bars
Oh,
right now, and it could be very good
somewhere
for
down the
the.
road, maybe.
So before we will start to meet and hear your background and what you're really doing on YouTube, that for me is kind of amazing. Let's talk about ITC. We met on the at ITC at last October 24. What is your insight? How was the event for you? What you learned from it, and take us from there.
Yeah, sure. So it was the first time I went to ITC, and I was like blown away at how much technology is in our ecosphere that I never heard about, never learned about, never even knew existed. AI, of course, is a big play right now, and I think will continue to be one. But since meeting there, I have met other insurtechs that are doing really unique things with AI for agents and brokers. And I'm not talking about the Hubs and Locked-ins and Gallaghers of the world. I'm talking about the technology that comes down to the smaller Main Street broker like me. There's some tech out there that's very expensive, and there's some that's not so expensive. And we're currently looking at two solutions that are kind of a great add-on to what we do already, but can help accelerate our workflow. And both of those technologies are not expensive at all. And we're actually working with a venture capital group on trying to develop some ideas with them on useful products that would hit the small broker world, which I think is exciting.
Wow. Okay. Nice. And what do you think it was missed at ITC for you as a
What,
broker?
what was missing?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if there was anything missing. It was overwhelming because there were like 10,000 people there. There were hundreds, maybe thousands of exhibitors. The exhibit hall was enormous. I mean, I think I logged 20,000 steps in one day. And I'm a hiker, so I don't mind walking, but that was a lot of walking in one day. It gave you a sense of how big the event was. Um, it was the first time that there was an agent and broker community that was there for agents. And I think that was interesting. That was run by Ryan Hanley, who actually invited me to speak at the event. And I think I've spoken to him since then, and he's talked about trying to make the agent division or section of that conference a little bit more robust next year. I think that there's a
Wow.
lot of interesting conversations that took place, um, in the exhibit hall, in cocktail hours, in all different places. I do have a bit of a presence on YouTube, so a lot of people were asking me about how did I get started? How does it work? What are you getting from it? All that kind of stuff. But unless you get a bunch of insurance agents and brokers in a room together, nothing really happens. So I think it's a powerful opportunity for agents to share information, learn new things, maybe expand what they're doing, how they're doing it, how you can grow. So I thought it was really a phenomenal opportunity. And I hadn't been to an insurance conference, industry conference in a while, so it was great to be there.
Nice. So let's go back a bit. What brought you into insurance industry in the first place?
My family.
Yeah, wow. It's like from 1800s or something. No, it's a
1929. My grandfather started the business in 1929 with his brother. Then my father and his cousin took over. And when I got out of college in 1982, I came into the business. And the deal was I could try it out. My dad said, "Look,
okay.
I don't want to force you into this. Try it, see if you like it." Now, 1982, a lot of your listeners probably weren't around then. There were no computers, there were no PCs. It was a paper intensive business. You did ID cards on a typewriter. So it was like ancient. But we were very early adopters. We had an agency management system within a couple of years when they first came out. We were very early having a PC, and back then a PC it didn't have a hard drive. It had two 5.5-inch floppy disks. That's how it operated. It had no hard drive. When you think about it, like your cell phone has probably 6,000 times the power that an old PC had. But I've kind of seen automation kind of regenerate itself over and over and over again in the business. And it's been kind of a interesting, I've been in the business 42 years, so an interesting time to be in the business.
So this is exactly what led me to our main topic right now on YouTube. You're one of the first, I want to say, but correct me if I'm wrong, that you created your like a commercial brand on YouTube as an insurance agent. You literally deliver insurance to the to the people. I remember that I crossed your a couple of your clips about captive insurance, and then I started to dig in, and then I said, okay, this is really good value here. And the way that you explain about terms and the way that it behave, and like what is car insurance and cyber insurance, and one of the best, I think, explanation about insurance terms I found in your clips. So let's start from the beginning. What inspired you to take like your knowledge, your experience in insurance, and turn it into a YouTube channel?
Sure. So I won't claim to be the first. I think this was really the brainchild of Ryan Hanley, who I've already mentioned. He and I are buddies. And he was doing it for years before I was. He had worked in a family agency that was owned by his father-in-law at the time. And he was looking to develop business. And quite frankly, I don't know how he stumbled on the idea of video, but he started it. And before you know it, this has got to be 10, 15 years ago, maybe longer. It was a long time ago. And in fact, when you look at his videos, he looks like a little kid. He's very youthful looking. But
he still seems like a little kid. Not
yeah,
a
he's
little
young.
kid. He's very strong. I see his CrossFit
Yeah.
CrossFit clips, but yeah, he looks very young.
Yeah, he's in his early 40s.
Hmm.
Uh, so we got to talking. We were actually supposed to hold each other accountable to cold calling. We had been on a webinar together, and I said, "Hey, would you like to?" I didn't know him. I knew he was on this webinar. Would you like to kind of maybe hold each other accountable and have accountability calls every week, every other week? He says, "Yeah, that'd be great." Because I'm not really good at this. Well, make a long story short, we had calls, but we never talked about cold calling because we both hated it so much that we never did it. So we had spent a ton of money on a webinar for a trainer to tell us how to do cold calling, never deployed it. But he was just starting to get his agency off the ground. And they were great conversations because I could kind of give him some of my insight over the years of running an agency, what I did, how I did it. He had some new ideas, what he was going to do. And then I think he opened his agency 2 days before COVID shut the world down. So he had to adapt pretty quickly, and he did really well and started to hire remote workers, and he grew a book of business very rapidly. And several months into these conversations that we were having every other week, he said to me, and I said this at the ITC conference because it sticks in my mind, because he said, "Dude, He said, dude, you have to do this. And nobody calls me dude. I'm like, just beyond me. So he said, dude, you have to do these videos because like the insurance business so in depth, and you can explain things so easily to me. Like when we're talking about D&O insurance or cyber insurance or whatever it is, you know how to explain stuff. You would be a natural. And I was like, a natural? Like, I don't want to get in front of a camera. And having had dozens of conversations with other brokers, this is what I hear. I don't know that much. I'd never be good in front of the camera. I'd be shy. I wouldn't know what to say. I would choke. It would look awful. And that's all that imposter syndrome that a lot of
Or if
people.
I will make a mistakes or something.
Yeah. Oh, somebody's going to criticize me or they're going to tell me I'm wrong. And I struggled with that. And I just kind of got to the point where I was like, look, who's going to tell me I'm wrong? I really don't care. And you kind of have to, I think you have to go through life kind of saying, you just don't, give a hoot about what anybody else says. You got to live your life. You got to do what you're good at. So I started, but again, now this is in the beginning or a couple months into the pandemic. Figured out what I needed in terms of equipment, lighting, all that kind of stuff. And Ryan was helpful in kind of guiding me there. And I started doing it. Excuse me. Sorry. I was getting another call. I started doing it and I gradually understood how the scripting, how the delivery, how the video was supposed to work. And I was editing them on my own and it was taking a lot of time. But again, it was COVID. I wasn't going out on appointments. I'm in the New York metro area. So I was in New York City 2 to 3 days a week, meeting clients and networking sources and referral sources and centers of influence. And that's how I developed my business. I wasn't doing that during COVID. So taking the time to learn video, shoot them and edit them was fine because there wasn't a heck of a lot of activity going on. And about 6 months in or 3 or 4 months in, I think it was, I was like, hey, Ryan, I'm not getting anything. He goes, you got to keep doing it. Just keep doing it. It takes at least 6 months. And sure enough, like 6 months, I get a lead. I'm like, oh, hot damn, this is good, And it continued to get better and better and better. Today, so that's 5 years, just about
Wow.
5 years we're doing it. We have, I think, over 600 videos on YouTube, and we cross-pollinate that to LinkedIn. We do a little bit on other social channels, but LinkedIn and YouTube are our predominant channels. We're going to start experimenting with TikTok shortly, and it's delivering. It fluctuates. Over this week, I would say we're averaging 3 to 4 leads a day. Some of them are very targeted, right in our wheelhouse. Some of them are not, and they're too small. So we have to say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't help you. But we do see a lot of good leads. In fact, I just sent out a proposal to a prospect in, I think, North Carolina. We do business across the US now. He happened to see a video on tail coverage and what happens when you run off and you sell a business and the buyer requires runoff insurance, and it was for discontinued products. His current broker was striking out all over the place, and we were able to get him a proposal. We probably only had 5 working days that we did it within because Thanksgiving was in the middle of the first conversation and now. But it's like $180,000 a premium, $160,000 a premium. So it's a great deal, but we see these opportunities because we play in certain niches, and the way the keyword structure is within YouTube, that will drive business. Not every deal we work on is that big. We'll get a call we had another one this morning that was a tech firm, startup, probably going to be $3,000 a premium, $4,000 a premium, but those kinds of accounts usually grow to be, nice size accounts. So it just kind of continues to feed it.
And they approach only because of the YouTube channel.
Yeah, people will call up and say, hey, I saw your video on this and that insurance and I need help. Or this is the situation I have. I saw your video, and do you think you can help me? It's a totally different buying and selling experience. When a buyer comes to you and says, I saw you on YouTube, I know you can help me, or can you help me? There's a different dynamic there. And what I spoke about at ITC when I was on stage was that video gives buyers a high degree of trust. They hear you, they see you, they can get a sense of your personality, and I think in a lot of cases people get this sense that, like, okay, this and people have told me this guy gets it, he knows what he's talking about. And in the insurance business, that's 9/10 of the game. If you walk into an account that you want to sell insurance to, and you don't have the confidence level or the knowledge level or all of the juice that you need to make a deal happen, you're never going to make that sale. If you walk in at the right time, at the exact right time when the buyer wants to buy, and you can demonstrate confidence, knowledge, skill, ability, you can get this deal done, you may have a sale. What changes the dynamic a little bit is I'm not walking into a business, I'm not walking in or calling 100 businesses to potentially write one deal. I'm doing hundreds of videos that capture the attention of people who say, that guy can help me. I need that guy's help.
How do you really choose the topics for your videos? Do you follow trends, audience feedbacks, for example, or the new customers that are coming, or something else?
I wish I could say I was smart enough to follow a strategy. Up until about recently, it was all hit or miss. I enjoy doing management and professional, so you'll see a lot of content on our channel around D&O, E&O, EPLI, employed lawyers, cyber insurance, professional liability, malpractice, and that's driven a lot of accounts. Now we're trying to find niches that we want to focus on. For example, we hired a cannabis producer that started about 5 weeks ago. So a lot of my new content is going to focus on cannabis, growers, dispensaries, processors, manufacturers, so people in the cannabis world. And we only have maybe 5 videos up so far, and we got our first cannabis lead yesterday. Somebody is starting a grow facility, and they saw our video and was like, hey, can you help us? So I was like, bingo.
Awesome.
That's great.
Wow. Okay, so let's read some tips. What advice would you give to other insurance agents who want to build their own presence on social media?
I guess my advice would be you got to just do it. It's easy to talk about it. It's easy to think about it. It's easy to look on YouTube, look at my videos or Ryan's videos or anybody else's. There's a fella in the Miami area, Alex DePazio. I met him at the conference. He's pretty active on YouTube. But unless you're really going to do it, don't waste your time. And look, I don't want to minimize it. It's not easy. It's challenging. And this whole imposter syndrome thing that we talked about at the beginning, it's very real. But my advice is that no one's going to throw shade your way. Nobody's going to tell you that you're wrong. Nobody's going to make fun of you. Like, put your big boy pants on and let's get to work. But all kidding aside, it's a bit of a learning curve, but once you get it, you're off to the races. And I would encourage anybody who's thinking about it to make one commitment, and that is develop 25 scripts, shoot 25 videos, edit 25 videos, and then throw those all in the trash. Your 26th video is the one you're going to publish on YouTube. You need to do the reps. That's how you get good at it.
So keep start for the first the first step is just stand before your camera, before your iPhone, you name it, and keep rolling.
Yep.
So, do you
The
think
other the other
agents?
thing, let me interrupt just for
Yeah,
a second, is that a lot of people get hung up on, and I have some videos on there that I've got to delete that are like probably 12, 13, 14 years old. I believed that you had to run from beginning to end in a perfect, no break conversational tone of reading a script or doing it off the top of your head. And it was before I understood that you could edit videos like really easily. The editing software is simple,
simple. Yeah.
but a lot of people think, oh my God, I can't talk for 5 or 6 or 7 minutes straight without flubbing. I'll never be able to do it. That's what editing is all about. And people who watch YouTube videos expect there to be edits. They don't expect anybody. Look, you watch your favorite TV shows or a movie on TV or go to the movie theater, those are all edited. Nobody does their lines perfectly. There's probably tons more edits in those shows than there are in my 6-minute clips about insurance.
And yet they still will see your authentic presentation.
Mm-hmm.
That is very important, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I
Uh,
100%.
do you think insurance agents who don't like embrace content creation risk becoming irrelevant in the industry in the coming years? Because mm, the younger generation mostly see on things on YouTube. If it's clips, even movies, lectures, you name it. And probably they will consume insurance or they want to understand much better or learn about insurance again from YouTube. So do you think like insurance agent who don't embrace that will, I don't want to say vanish, but will have a problem?
I don't think so. I don't know if you've ever heard the Max Revenue Show. That's two producers, Micah Salas and Trey Shields. Great guys, great conversation every week.
I read this book.
Yeah, yeah. I've kind of become friendly with both of them as kind of like thought leaders in the business, if you will. They believe in cold calling.
Yeah,
I don't think that's ever going to go away. I think that business owners, um, whether they're in their 60s or in their 20s, um, if they get a call at the right time when they're disrupted or they're in pain or I say when they've got an itch that needs to be scratched, you're going to have a home run. And, those guys and a lot of producers around the country, they focus on six-figure commission accounts. That's great. And, we've got some six-figure commission accounts that we've had from YouTube. Not a ton, but, I probably produce as much revenue with my YouTube channel, just me as a producer from last year, than any other producer doing big accounts and cold calling. So I don't think that either one is right or wrong. I don't think that cold calling or the traditional process will go away. Um, I think that we'll continue to have pressure from insurtechs that are trying to disintermediate us from the business. And that's okay because I don't think that they're going to do a great job at it. At the end of the day, it's still a people business. And like I said, whether the buyer is 20 years old or 60 years old or 70 years old, they want a personality. They want a personal relationship. They want an expert to work with. How you get in the door, whether it's video or cold calling or knocking on doors or direct mail, I think they all have a place. In fact, I think the best agents are going to be those that can embrace every avenue of delivery of the marketing assets to those prospects. If I had the bandwidth, I would have somebody calling. I would have direct mail. I would have more targeted stuff. So I would have this big, broad approach that social gives you, but also very targeted approaches to key, clients that you wanted to write. And there's a lot of different strategies you could deploy in that space.
I have one last question. I want to ask about what do you think your grandpa would have thought about that? Um, so I didn't mention that before we started to record. Please remain after we say goodbye, just to hear your thoughts, how it was,
Yeah.
etc.
So what would my grandfather think? That would be like the movie Back to the Future. Like, I don't think in 1929, like air travel was probably pretty new. The automobile was still pretty new. Um, you know, like I can't, and I would think that anybody, 95 years from today would say, man, those people in, 2024, man, they really had it rough. They were doing stuff the hard way. Yeah, we had flush toilets, but you know what I mean? It'd be like comparison. I don't think that it would be mind blowing. I mean, like it would be for anybody 95 years from today, looking back
Yeah.
at how we built a YouTube channel. Like that would be like probably like small potatoes in the future. But looking back, or like if I was in 1929 looking forward, I'd be like, how could you even comprehend these kinds of things?
It's really interesting, and I must tell you that my kids are 10 and 8 and 4, like two sons and a daughter, and they see only the things only on YouTube, by the way, and this, you see how they consuming their information and their content about things, even they learn in school or again. Influencer like Mr. Beast and a couple of Israelis one. And I think it's like the next TV for the new generation right now, for the younger generation. And I really believe that we do something very different here, that we deliver insurance that is like one of the boring topics in the world, maybe the one and only boring things in the world, and turn it like to create something very interesting with insurance, to create something very interesting in insurance. And thank you for that, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah. Gordon, thank you very much. It was great to see you and meet you for the first time at ITC and again right now. And I hope we will stay in touch. Thank
yeah.
you.
Well, thank you for having me on. It was a good conversation. Anytime.